You spend a third of your life doing something your doctor has never once screened you for. Every night, your body cycles through a process that can collapse your airway, destabilize your heart, and paralyze you from the neck down. For 80 million Americans, that process is failing every single night, and more than 80% of them do not know it. When researchers tracked what was killing these people between midnight and 6 in the morning, they found a pattern that reversed everything medicine assumed about when the heart is safe. And that was not even the most unsettling thing hiding inside your sleep cycle. The most common warning sign is something you've probably done yourself or slept next to someone who does, and that's snoring. That sound your partner complains about, the one you laugh off or blame on allergies, is the earliest and most common symptom of obstructive sleep apnea. And sleep apnea is not just bad sleep, it is suffocation. Here's what actually happens inside your throat while you're unconscious. The soft tissue in your airway relaxes and collapses. Breathing stops completely, not for a second. For 10, 20, sometimes 35 seconds at a time, your blood oxygen drops, your body floods with cortisol, your blood pressure surges, your nervous system fires an emergency jolt strong enough to restart breathing but not strong enough to wake you up. You don't remember any of it. And it happens dozens to hundreds of times per night. More than 83 million Americans are estimated to have undiagnosed obstructive sleep apnea right now. They walk into their doctor's office complaining about exhaustion, brain fog, feeling drained no matter how much they sleep, and the doctor checks their thyroid, runs blood work for anemia, asks about stress, prescribes antidepressants. The actual cause, the one collapsing their airway every single night, never gets investigated. And if you're thinking this only affects overweight men, you're wrong. Sleep apnea is driven by jaw structure, airway width, and tonsil size just as much as body weight. There are extremely fit people with severe apnea and severely overweight people with none. Reggie White was one of the most dominant football players who ever lived. 13-time Pro Bowler, NFL Hall of Famer. They called him the Minister of Defense. He was diagnosed with sleep apnea and given a CPAP machine. That diagnosis seemed manageable at the time. On Christmas night 2004, Reggie watched a movie with his family. The next morning, his wife found him dead in bed. He was 43 years old. The CPAP machine was on his nightstand unused. His family spokesman said a 43-year-old is not supposed to die in his sleep. He was not a sick man. He was vibrant. He had energy and passion. The same organ sleep apnea damages the most, the heart, turns out to be uniquely vulnerable during the exact hours you're supposed to be recovering. In the general population, the highest risk window for sudden cardiac death falls between 6 in the morning and noon. Your cortisol spikes on waking. Your blood pressure surges. A protein called PA1 peaks in your bloodstream, making it more likely to clot. Doctors have known about this morning danger zone for decades. But in people with sleep apnea, that pattern flips completely. A landmark study in the New England Journal of Medicine found that 46% of sudden cardiac deaths in sleep apnea patients occurred between midnight and 6 in the morning, the exact window when risk is supposed to be at its lowest. The clock is reversed. Pay attention to this next detail because it explains everything. During REM sleep, your autonomic nervous system becomes dramatically more active, sometimes more active than when you're fully awake. Your dreams trigger cardiovascular surges, irregular heart rates, and blood pressure spikes that your body handles unconsciously. And if your airway is already collapsing dozens of times per hour, your heart is absorbing those hits with zero margin for error. The survival math makes it worse. Nighttime cardiac arrests have lower 30-day survival rates than daytime ones, even after adjusting for every other variable. And the event often goes unrecognized even by people sleeping in the same bed. Your brain does not just leave your heart exposed during sleep, it does something even stranger. It shuts your entire body down on purpose. Every time you enter REM sleep, your brain sends a signal that paralyzes virtually every voluntary muscle you have. This is not a malfunction, it is a safety feature. Without it, you'd physically act out every dream. You'd punch, kick, run, and scream while completely unconscious. This paralysis happens multiple times every night, and you never know it's happening. But roughly 30% of people have felt what happens when the system glitches on exit. You wake up, your eyes open, your mind is fully conscious, and you cannot move. Not your arms, not your legs, not your chest. Nearly a quarter of people who experience sleep paralysis also hallucinate, hearing and seeing things that aren't there, while locked inside a body that won't respond. But your body's paralysis system has a failure mode in the other direction too, and it's far more dangerous. In REM behavior disorder, the paralysis signal fails to engage entirely. The sleeper physically acts out their dreams with full force. One man's wife kept a broom handle under the bed so she could wake him from 4 feet away. During one episode, he grabbed the broom and used it as a sword against dream attackers. Another man began strangling his wife during episodes, moved to a separate bedroom, then stood up in bed and jumped as if diving into a swimming pool. He split his head open on the corner of a desk. He started restraining himself with bungee cords before bed. 97% of people diagnosed with isolated REM behavior disorder will develop Parkinson's disease, Lewy body dementia, or multiple system atrophy within 14 years. The violent episodes aren't just dangerous in the moment. They're a warning that the brain is already deteriorating. By this point, you should have a better understanding of what sleep can do to your airway, your heart, and your muscles. If this is the kind of thing you're interested in, hit subscribe. This channel covers the hidden dangers inside everyday life every single week. Now here's where the system that's supposed to protect people completely falls apart. When a sleepwalker dies, the death certificate almost never says sleepwalking. A college student was killed by a semi-truck at 4:30 in the morning wearing nothing but boxer shorts. No note, no explanation. A police officer shot himself in his sleep with no history of suicidal thoughts, but a documented history of complex sleepwalking stretching back to early childhood. A university student was found unconscious below a third-story window at 4:30 in the morning. He had no memory of anything between entering his dorm at 2 a.m. and waking up in a hospital bed. These deaths have a name in forensic literature: parasomnia pseudo-suicide. Deaths caused by sleepwalking that get classified as intentional suicide or unexplained accidents. And the institutional failure is simple. Coroners do not routinely check for parasomnia history. If you die doing something that looks deliberate, it gets recorded as deliberate. The sleeping brain that actually caused it never even enters the picture.